What does it mean to kill Amara separately? What does it mean to watch quietly when Amara is killed?
Kiev says Russian attack destroyed Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Although Ukraine launched a surprise attack by violating the Russian border to distract the Russian army, it did not stop the Russian forces from pushing forward in the east. Russia has launched more than 100 missile and nearly 100 drone strikes, killing at least 5 people, officials in Kiev say. Kiev says Russia has destroyed energy infrastructure in Ukraine's massive offensive. Russia launched more than 100 missile and nearly 100 drone strikes this morning, killing at least 5 people and destroying power facilities, officials in Kiev said. Power and water supply were cut off in many places, including in certain parts of Kiev. According to Ukrainian officials, during the 2.5-year war, Russia has been targeting power installations in 10 provinces. Russia stepped up its attacks on Ukraine's power grids last April, and Ukrainian officials say Russia is doing so as the winter season approaches, when the population needs large amounts of energy. Today's Russian missile attack is said to be the worst in recent weeks. The attack comes as Ukraine, which has crossed the border into the western Russian province of Kursk, has claimed victory, and Russian forces are advancing in eastern Ukraine and closing in on the key logistics hub of Pokrovsk. This is one of the coordinated attacks. About 100 different types of missiles and about 100 Shahed drones were fired. This attack, like previous Russian attacks, targeted innocent infrastructure, President Volodymyr Zelensky said in a telegram. According to Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal, 15 states were affected by the attack. Zelensky said that the power infrastructure was severely damaged. Ukraine was not armed with long-range missiles at the start of the war, but has since infiltrated Russia and developed a variety of long-range missiles capable of hitting oil refineries and air bases. President Zelensky announced last week that the Kiwi has developed a long-range drone missile that is faster than any of its previous missiles. The Interfax news agency quoted the Russian Defense Ministry as saying that Russian forces have carried out targeted attacks on Ukrainian energy facilities. Although Ukraine launched a surprise offensive across the Russian border to distract the Russian army, it did not stop Russian forces from pushing forward in the east. North Korea has destroyed and tested drones. Kim Jong-un stressed that the country's army should be equipped with modern drones as soon as possible. The country's national television channel, KCNA, shared footage of a white-colored drone hitting a target. The drone, nicknamed the Destroyer, because it explodes after hitting its target, was seen engaging a target that looked like a South Korean K-2 main battle tank. Pyongyang, which has failed to modernize its air force under Western pressure, has seen the role of drones in various wars going on in the world, according to the Associated Press report. He also explained that last Saturday, it tested more than 4 types of drones, which are said to be able to hit their targets on land and sea, and that leader Kim Jong-un also watched the test. At the same time, Kim is said to have stressed that the North Korean army should quickly equip itself with modern drones that can be used for attack and reconnaissance. North Korea tested self-made drones after the US and South Korea began annual military exercises last week. Some analysts, however, point out that the drones tested by Pyongyang are similar to the Russian Zala Lancet 3 drone, and say that Moscow is transferring drone technology to its friend. They mentioned that Kim Jong-un was given a drone as a gift during his visit to Russia, and speculated that Pyongyang might have tried to improve the gift. South Korea says it is closely monitoring its neighbor's new drone test. The country's military spokesman, Lee Chong-un, did not give details about the drones that North Korea has tested, but said that it has a system that can remotely identify and shoot down all of Pyongyang's drones. The Minister of National Security of Israel called for the deportation of Ertish refugees in the country. Israel's national security and Israel's police have reached an agreement to deport Eritrean refugees. Israel's National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir has called on the Israeli government to deport Eritrean refugees in the country. The minister made the call after the last Saturday in Tel Aviv city of Eritrean refugees who left their side and fought in prison. It has been confirmed that 2 people were beaten to death in the clashes between the supporters and opponents of President Isaiah's government living in Israel, while 5 people were reported to have received serious to minor injuries. The Eritreans who took part in the conflict were fighting each other with stones and sticks, the police said. In a statement issued by the Office of Israel's National Security Minister, Ben-Gvir, Israel's national security and Israeli police said that they have reached an agreement to deport Eritrean refugees. He also announced that the 2 security institutions reached the agreement, following the request made a year ago and the discussion with the Prime Minister. The National Security Minister's office said in a statement that it was agreed that the Minister of National Security should bring the matter before Prime Minister Netanyahu and intervene in the matter in order to protect the safety of Israeli citizens. Currently, It is estimated that there are about 20,000 Eritreans living in Israel, and most of the Eritrean refugees live in the southern Tel Aviv area. Eritrean refugees entered Israel at the beginning of 2000 through the Egyptian border. Residents of Israel, especially those living in the southern Tel Aviv area, have been complaining that crime is on the rise due to the presence of large numbers of refugees in the area. Conflicts between Eritrean refugees living in Israel and other countries are becoming common. The Times of Israel reports that one person was killed and another was seriously injured in a similar clash between Eritreans in Tel Aviv, south of Israel, a month ago. Eritreans living in Israel clash with each other on several occasions, and in the past May, a person was stabbed and injured in a civil conflict. Last September, more than 170 people, including Israeli policemen, were injured in a violent clash between Eritreans in Tel Aviv, and the conflict angered the Israeli government. It was heard that when the army of the regime faced a heavy defeat in the frontal battle, he gathered the innocents he had gathered to carry his dead body. Abiy Ahmed's security forces who entered the Gojam region are facing heavy defeats and losses in the war with Fano's forces. Fano Barakadile, head of public relations of Zambira Brigade, revealed that while the Zambira Brigade, which is under the command of Ama Fano Gojam, was having a discussion with the community, the forces of the regime, which moved to attack, received a heavy blow from the arms of the Fano forces and many of the forces were injured. Public Relations Officer Fano Barakadile said in a statement given to Ethio 251 media that after the regime forces gathered the local innocents to gather the bodies for me after the injury, they collected the bodies and loaded them. He is the first ambassador in the history of Ethiopia. America said it will not accept Lencho Bodi's appointment as ambassador appointed by Abiy Ahmed. Prosperity leader Abiy Ahmed Ali, who does not contribute his officials to power, comments that the number of officials he appointed and dismissed in 6 years is equal to the number of officials of the past 60 years. Commentators who say that they do this because they do not believe in their authorities say that they are afraid that an official will conspire against me if they leave an office. In this way, it is said that hearing the news of Abiy's resignation has no different weight than the news of his planting. It is remembered that they removed the engineer Selshur Beekland from the Ministry of Water and Irrigation a year ago and appointed him to an absolutely senior position. At that time, Roam, citing her sources, reported that they were planning to replace Chief Engineer Selshin with Lencho Body. However, according to information provided to us by ROAS internal sources, the U.S. government has refused to accept Mr. Lencho Body, who was appointed by the Prime Minister. Through this, we have come to know that Mr. Lencho was not accepted by the American government. This makes him the first person in the history of Ethiopia to be rejected by the government of the country where he was appointed. This is an event that has lowered Ethiopia's foreign relations, which had been respected since the time of the king. In addition, it has become a demonstration of how much the regime has put the country in a fragile diplomatic situation. The prosperity regime, which has been despised and pushed from the region to the international arena, has brought Ethiopia's foreign relations down from its height for more than a century and is running it in dade. Interestingly, ROAS investigation found that Lencho Body was not recognized as an ambassador because of sexual harassment and other related charges. This has clearly shown the system's place for sexual violence. So, the elites of the system, who cried crocodile tears over the rape of baby Fiven, sent Adenek Abebe Lencho as an ambassador, but did not provoke them. When asked about the women who were raped, they said that they were raped by a boy's genitals. They said that Abiy Ahmed appointed Lencho Body, who was accused of sexual abuse. Although it is not surprising, it is an act that is embarrassing to the country. There are also reports that they wanted to take Abiy Lenzo from Saudi Arabia to the United States because they wanted to intimidate important countries such as the United States, who are loyal to the system and the owner of the system. Don't think that this happened overnight. Tens of thousands of Amharic people have been killed, and even worse, we have lost the faces of our struggle. Yes, freedom does not come without struggle, and struggle does not come without sacrifice. As long as we don't end our struggle with victory, the sacrifices of yesterday are still there today and will continue tomorrow. However, now our struggle has gone through thousands of challenges and won millions of victories. New generation. New thinking. New hope. Evil to none, goodness to all. Victory for Amhara people. Justice for Amhara people. Freedom for Amhara people.